You've done a lot of homework with some of the material that came through yesterday, some of which has proven quite fruitful. Let me use this trigger. You've done a lot of work connecting pieces, and I admire that enormously. You know, the ones that come through with just the right level of gravity.
You can tell.
NA emailed through, please don't use my name. So NA, we're protecting your identity. And he went with exclusive Taron Thomas to Gold Coast. And I thought that is worth following up on.
It certainly was too. NA was on the money. So this led us into what I like to call the Clarkson Effect that I wanted to discuss this morning. So long speculated, long anticipated, and long predicted what he would mean to North Melbourne and the players there, now coming to fruition in reality. So let's talk about the could-haves. The could-have-been tradeds if it wasn't for Clarkson coming in, and the mystique surrounding him, the curiosity from the players. They want to see it for themselves. They want to see it up close. What's he like? Is he as good as they say? All the mystique that comes with him. They want to see it in the flesh. Now, Taron Thomas signed a 2-year contract in February of this year. You know, in footy speak, that's 5 minutes ago. The club wanted a 4-year deal. He stuck with 2, and I'm told it's a very lucrative 2 for that contract as well for him to stay. But he endured a really difficult year. He saw some tragedy. He experienced some difficulty in his life, and his footy never really got going. Not too long ago, he was gettable. NA was absolutely on the money. There was a distinct possibility he was going to push for a trade. Gold Coast, there was at least a conversation had between the Suns and the management company that look after that particular player in Taron Thomas. But Clarkson's appointment is the major reason, if not the total reason, that he is now staying put. So I think we can put it to bed, but NA was on the money. It was certainly a possibility that could haves and the Clarkson effect.
All right, tie some names in for me.
Jason Horne-Francis, we told you earlier this year, decided to put off contract talks. Not the only first-year player to do that, of course, but of last year's top 10, 5 signed contract extensions in their first season, so it happens just as often the other way. And of the last few number one picks, like Jason, Jamara re-signed in his first season. Matt Rowell did too. Sam Walsh did. Cam Rayner did. So it was, of course, very hard to see how he could be moved this year, though, regardless of whether Clarkson signed or not, because Adelaide would surely have found it too difficult to engineer a trade with North Melbourne, given they're invested in Isaac Rankin. And just on that Rankin trade, wouldn't surprise you if this goes the distance. The Crows can dig in. I mean, they can all dig in, but the Crows and Swans went the distance last year with Jordan Dawson, and the Suns really wanted to keep Rankin this time, so expect that one to go the journey. But back to the Roos. Cam Zurhaar, another one out of contract. He's been holding off on re-signing. We've spoken about it for months and months. North presented to him in June. He's been holding off. So he's in his mid-20s. A real decision to make. Still no decision from him on whether enough water's gone under the bridge while North Melbourne got their ship corrected with Clarkson, or have other clubs got to him, like Essendon, to turn his head enough. So I think we'll get an answer from him in the not-too-distant future. Todd Goldstein, he was gone mid-year. He was at one stage counting down the weeks until the end of the season. Now he's in a very different headspace. No confirmation yet that he stays, but certainly this is a decision now for him, whereas 6 months ago, the decision was already made. He was leaving North Melbourne. So the Clarkson effect, if you like, and then we've already discussed about the players coming back in the other way. So Liam Shields, Bradley Hill has been linked. Now I've touched base with the Saints. They say they want Brad Hill to stay. They want him to fulfill his contract. They've been given no sign from the player himself that he wants to leave. So all systems proceeding in a forward direction as far as that's concerned from North Melbourne, from St Kilda's point of view. But I think there's an acknowledgement and an admittance that behind the scenes they know that there's some discussions being had, if you like, with his former coach and Alistair Clarkson. So Josh Dunkley is an obsession of mine, I'll admit it, Gerard.
So I've got a dozen different Dunkley scenarios on
I'll put it on the record.
And the texts that have come through. Remember your long form, Whateley at sen.com.au.
Yeah, so hard to read, as we've acknowledged. And I've come and gone with this. I mean, yesterday, my confidence had well and truly cracked. Brisbane offer is close to comparable for Josh Dunkley. So it's not like Brisbane have blown the Dogs offer out of the water. The Port Adelaide offer, however, is a better one financially. That's the superior offer. That's the temptation. But internally, he's super invested. I'm told he's engaged. He's said to be behaving like a player who will be there for the long term, for what it's worth. But we won't know for sure until the Dogs season is finished either way. So I've waxed and waned just from conversations with people, but the Dogs haven't. They've always been pretty comfortable, Gerard, relaxed, like we've said throughout the second half of the year. There's been ongoing communication between the player and the club throughout. So from their mind, they're still relatively, well, as comfortable as you can be at this stage of the season when a key player hasn't re-signed, but they're not panicking like I was yesterday.
Okay. The Brown brothers were raised yesterday as a possibility of being gettable.
They are gettable.
Yep.
The Brown brothers are gettable. Callum and Tyler at Collingwood. Whether they find a home sort of in the foreseeable future, or that's one that can drag on and come to fruition late. Lewis Melican was raised yesterday as well. Definitely gettable at Sydney. I guess the romance and the great story of Paddy Mccartney is the cold, hard reality for Lewis because he's lost his spot on that side and just wants to play football. So he's up for grabs as well. And the picture is slowly becoming clearer elsewhere, isn't it? So Collingwood are bringing in Dan McStay, but Billy Frampton, I'm told, basically over the line as well at Collingwood. He will come in from Adelaide. Bobby Hill as well, barring any late hiccups. So a Jordan Roughead replacement, if you like, is Billy Frampton. But imagine Bobby Hill and Jack Ginnivan in the same forward line as well. Dan McStay running around and what that might do for Brodie Myercheck. So you can see what Collingwood are trying to do to better balance that list. And I suppose that means Tim Taranto, should he leave GWS, an announcement surely imminent on that, is bound for Richmond.
Okay. Do you want to see how many of these we can get through? Because there are some really enthusiastic players.
I'm ready.
There are some new names here which I like. Andrew Gaff to the Blues.
Oh, geez. Stuff of fantasy. Absolutely.
Take it to the bank. Xavier Dersma to the Blues to rejoin Voss. That's Mark from Croydon.
Now, Dersma definitely was unhappy at large portions of this year. He had a difficult year. He was in and out of the side. He had an injury. There was a bit of speculation that he perhaps played before he was ready, and then he was played out of position. Then he was played as the sub. He was unhappy, but I'm told that unhappiness ended with him just not playing regular football, not to the point of wanting a trade. I've had that spelled out to me very clearly, so I'll take that at face value.
Jordan De Goey has already signed with Collingwood. Deal was done 3 weeks ago, but won't be made public until finals campaign is over. Take it to the bank.
Was there full stops in there?
Yes.
I like that. Added gravity on the bank. I heard that rumour too, and we went to his management and we tried to check it out. I was told it wasn't the case. So again, you have to take that at face value that a deal hasn't been struck. For Collingwood supporters, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope I've been given a bum steer, and he has. We think he will on a 2-year arrangement. Heavily incentivised, not the right word. A few hurdles or triggers put in there as well.
Yep. Sean emailed through, take it to the bank. Dustin Martin to Gold Coast, Hopper and Taranto to Richmond.
Well, the Suns are said to be tighten the cap, and I think that's correct. Yeah. I'm not sure how they can bring in a player of Dustin Martin's value, to be honest. I just think that would completely break the piggy bank.
Fantasy. Good man, Sean. Thanks for playing. I like this from Oscar. Jacob Hopper has a brother who lives in Geelong and used to teach me a few years back. That is probably why he's linked to Geelong.
Well, maybe. And didn't we talk about it yesterday? The biggest catchment area in football, Geelong. Everything west of Geelong is in that zone, and it is what you laugh at it, but it is absolutely a case. The lifestyle, Jeremy Cameron is as far as you've got to look for that to know what it offers players.
Craig wants to know, Wingard staying?
Yes, I think so. Okay. Yes.
A few of these you've dealt with nicely. What about, so I've seen Darcy Tucker's name come up 2 or 3 times this morning. One was Jackson emailed through Darcy Tucker to Essendon.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of other correspondents who had him gettable elsewhere.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. He's definitely been discussed at rival clubs and raised at rival clubs. And I know Essendon have been one of those, and that's been reported. He is contracted, but it's got some real interest from over this side of the country where we are, Gerard. So we'll see how that one plays out.
Wiedemann coming home to the Pies, as you've mentioned Wiedemann there. So there's a few multi-leggers. Do you want to do the multis?
Why not?
This is from Lachlan. Lobb to Sydney, Buddy to Brisbane, McStay to Collingwood, Grundy to Melbourne, Jackson to Fremantle.
I don't mind that. That's the Buddy one that has been forgotten about, hasn't it, since he parked that, and it turned out to be a shrewd move, didn't it, in hindsight, just to take the air completely out of it. I think speaking to most people in the industry, he stays at Sydney or he retires. I'm just not sure that can happen at Brisbane.
Andrew has gone Tom De Koning to Geelong, Quinton Narkle to Fremantle, Lloyd Meek and Blake Acres to Carlton, late draft picks thrown around as steak knives.
Well, there might be a few truths in that one. So what was the first part of that?
It was Tom De Koning to Geelong.
I don't
see that.
Don't think Tom's going anywhere as we sit here right now for then contracted for next year, of course. So I think we can knock that on the head.
And Smithy had a variation on an old theme. Any truth to the rumours that the Swans might be after Tom Green? They have been previously interested in him during his draft year. Swans have a couple of first-round picks available too.
I'm going to make it my mission, Gerard, during this trade period to get something on the record from Tom Green himself or those aligned to him, either in his management or from GWS or from Jason McCartney, whoever it might be. We are going to try and knock this on the head, on the record, in a formal sense at some stage during this trade period. Tanner Brew and Hawthorn coming through on the text as well. I think that might be the likely destination for Tanner.
Okay, so a few canny observers there. Who's the favourite for Brodie Grundy as we close this edition of the Trade Bell?
It's Geelong or it's Melbourne. I think it's a two-horse race. I know that Geelong are really interested in getting him, and we'd have to assume that Melbourne are as well, given they've been willing to sit down en masse with the player. I think it might just be Brodie Grundy's decision to make. Does he want to play his football at Melbourne, or does he want to play his football at Geelong? And that's a tough choice.
Yep.
For a player like Brodie Grundy. What he wants out of where does he wants to establish himself as the premier ruckman in the competition. There's a lot of pieces in that puzzle to work out an answer